All right, you guys might have to hit your little accept button. All right. Well, thank you guys for jumping on. This is going to be very informational. And like I said in the email, it's really just an opportunity to run through what to expect from a summer programming and tryout standpoint. We're not going to get into anything related to coaching for next year, tournaments for next year, any of that stuff. That all will come, I promise. But I know people are itching to get their summer vacations and everything planned. So I wanted to give a general idea of what to expect, so that people can wrap their head around that. So let me share my screen here. This one. Okay. Can I get some thumbs up if you're able to see that? Steph Allen, are you able to see that? Because I can see your face. Okay, cool. Thank you. All right. So let's first talk tryouts and development evals. So to give you some date ranges, and you don't have to scramble and write all this down. We'll distribute this after so everybody has it. But one of the things that came out of, has kind of evolved out of one of the parent rep discussions was this idea of some sort of orientation clinic. So families who are currently in development who have a player who is going to be a 10U or older next year and might want to try out for elite. We're going to host a clinic on April 2nd. I'll go through the details of that in a little bit. We'll have a tryout prep camp, kind of like we did last year, just to get kids, after maybe taking a few weeks off, back in the mindset of competing so that they can make the teams they want to make. That'll happen mid-April. And then the earliest date, and I'll talk about this in more detail, the earliest date that we're able to do tryouts is actually April 28th. We don't have ice until the 29th. So we're going to start on the 29th, which is earlier than last year. And I'll talk about that in a bit. Development evals, as usual, is going to be a little bit later. I think last year we did development evals just within the summer program. I could be wrong, but we'll make sure to host development evaluations separately from summer programming. So just to go a little bit deeper, I know this is wordy, just so people who are going to watch this later are going to just read it, have the info. But basically what this elite orientation clinic is, we're going to have mostly 12U and 14U elite coaches running it, just because those are the age groups that most of our development players would be jumping into if they choose to try out for elite. We're going to do, it's going to be 2 on-ice sessions. It's going to be 1 off-ice training session, and then there will be an informational session where parents have the opportunity to ask anything they want about the elite program. It's obviously a pretty big jump from everything from travel to cost to number of ice times. So we just want to make sure that our development families feel very well equipped with information as they consider potentially making that jump from development to elite. Tryout prep camp. So it's actually going to be a little bit more than last year. I apologize. Dogs are barking downstairs. It's going to be a little bit more than we've done in the past. So I think last year we did 2 or 3 sessions per week. This one's going to be 4. So it's going to be like high paced. You're really getting into the groove. Then they'll have a couple of days off to rest up, and then we'll hit it for tryouts. That one, obviously, it's not mandatory. I don't want people to feel like if I don't come to prep camp, then I'm not making a team. That's not the case. And we even are going to probably have to cap it just so we don't have, 70 players out there for any particular age group. So once that opens, if it's something that you want to do, make sure to sign up pretty quickly. Good question. As far as goalies, sorry, just looking at the questions now. As far as goalies for prep camp are concerned, if it's not Hiroki, it'll be Jen Taylor. Hiroki should be able to do most of the prep camp sessions. He is going to, just so parents are aware, if you haven't heard, he's pretty good at communicating, but he is going back overseas for about a month, I think. And Jen Taylor will be jumping in to help out during that time, who is his recommendation and who he really trusts to make sure the consistent goalie messaging is getting communicated. Do we know the time of the elite clinic? Yeah, Jason, that's a good point. That's the ice that we have as far as evaluations. That 215 would be right in the middle of it all. If you want to send me, Jason, I can try to find a different day for ice. But we may not be able to move that just given the ice that we have. But I'll see what I can do. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay. So tryouts will run pretty much identical to last year, same cost, same expectations. It'll be a skill evaluation for the first session. Second session will be the scrimmage. Third session will be the scrimmage, which will be invite based, depending on which coaches want to look at which kids. So nothing changes about the structure of tryouts. And then development evaluations, same deal, nothing different than we've done in the past. We are planning, I will share this, we are planning on adding a mite team in Peoria next year, if that's of interest to anybody on this call. Unfortunately, that's probably the only team at the development level that we're going to add. So we, as far as, letting 6Us play up at 8U and letting, 15 and 16-year-olds play down on our 12U14 combo team, space is starting to get tight. So I want to just set that expectation now. We're going to get as many girls placed as we possibly can, but unfortunately it's a good problem to have as we continue to grow, but we'll do everything we can to make sure everybody has a home within the girls program if they would like to have one. All right, any questions before I move on about those specific topics? Okay, I'll keep moving along. I'll answer the rest of the questions at the end, just so it's not so choppy. Okay, we have a lot going on throughout the summer. I didn't put exact dates in here, just with various holidays happening throughout the summer. It gets a little choppy, but we'll make sure that we get those schedules out on the website within the next couple weeks so people can really dig into their plans. One of the things that we're going to do, we'll have a player development camp prep skate. So if you have a daughter who is an 05 through 08 birth year, if you don't know what player development camp is, I did want to take a moment to talk about that. So USA Hockey player development camp, there's kind of two pieces to it. One, it's meant to be an opportunity to get some different looks, some different coaches to come out and run. I think it's 3 ice times, and then the goalies have an individual ice time. It also is an opportunity for players to be selected to go on to the district camp. Now, unfortunately, we are in a state where we don't have a ton of kids that get to go at each birth year. But it is still worth going and trying to compete to get a spot. Occasionally, not often, they'll have an at-large spot. But one of the things from a USA Hockey standpoint that's really important for us as an organization is, unless we continue to show up to these player development camps, it's hard for USA Hockey to justify opening more spots. So it's important for us to continue to show the talent that we have here in Arizona so that they can recognize, yeah, let's open more, because Arizona is really growing and developing and we want more of those kids. So it is important for players to go. Those who get selected to go on to district camp, which I believe is in Dallas this year, there's D1 coaches there, there's D3 coaches there. It's a really good opportunity for girls who do make it to that next step to be seen. So we definitely want to give girls the best opportunity possible to have college opportunities. So this is just one other avenue to do that. And then of course, a couple players, we had 2 from the Kachinas last year be selected from district camp to then go on to national camp, which is really exciting for us as a program and for us as a state. So because player development camp happens like the weekend after nationals, and hopefully we have some teams make it to nationals, we wanted to just have an ice session for those girls just to get something, have a high pace skate so they could go out. So if you're 05 or your daughter's 05 through 08, they're welcome to come out to the skate, get a quick hour-long session in just to feel ready to go for that camp that weekend. Oops. Okay, so elite summer. This is going to look very different than it has in the past. So Matt piloted that gold program last summer. We are integrating that model into what we're going to do for all of the elite program. So essentially, to give you guys some background, one of the issues we ran into last year was making sure that players were getting challenged and having not just age level competition and training, but also skill level competition and training. So what we're going to do is we're going to basically, it's going to be a lot more structured. So it's not just going to be, the ADM style stations, and then, they get a 3-on-3 game. You're going to have, your daughter is going to be put on a team in a group based on her age and skill. So we're going to kind of match teams after tryouts. So let's say your daughter makes the 16 green team. She'll be put in the group with 16 green, 19 green, and then we'll, depending on space availability, probably invite some of our recent graduates and alumni to come and be part of that as well, so they have a place to train. There will be different groups based on skill, and we'll announce more details as we get closer. So your daughter will get put on a team for the summer based on the team that she makes at tryouts, and it'll be the same head coach for that team, which may or may not be the person that's going to be your head coach for the upcoming season, but it'll be someone who's working at least with that age group. They'll get 2 ice sessions a week. One of the biggest pieces of feedback that we got was going, 3 ice sessions every week all summer long was just a lot, especially as we level up next year and everyone's doing a lot more travel, a lot more competition. We wanted to make sure that we're giving the kids a place to play and train over the summer, but we're not totally crushing them and burning them out either. So based on the schedule and holidays, not everybody's is going to be the perfect same amount of ice time. We tried to get it as close as possible. But it's somewhere in the mix of 7 to 10 weeks long per session. So there'll be 2 sessions in the summer. So we'll do one starting up in May, and it will go through 7 or 8 weeks. Then we're going to take a break. So you'll have a few weeks off so that you guys can do vacations. Your daughters can just take a breather, because it is a year-round sport anymore. We want to give them an opportunity to just relax for a little bit. So that's a lot of information. And then after that break, we'll start it up again. they'll go through the end of July, get a little break after that, and then we hit it hard with season coming back mid-August. I imagine there's going to be a lot of questions about this just because it is different. So please feel free to throw those in the chat. I'll answer them at the end. You'll notice that for this one, location is Mesa and Chandler. The reason for that is while we have an agreement with Mesa, technically they have first right of ice selection for their programming, and we didn't get Tuesdays or Thursdays. So we figured instead of having kids skating, 6, 7, 8 o'clock on a Friday night and then all weekend, we really wanted to try to get a slot on a Tuesday or Thursday to just spread it out for a better experience. So we will have a couple of these sessions at Chandler. Not everybody, depending on your kids' age level or skill level, but we will have some ice at Chandler. Okay, development, same thing. There will be some ice at Chandler for the development summer program. So this one is going to be more structured as kind of like a 3-on-3 league. So same deal, to be 2 sessions. You'll be put on a team, or your daughter will be put on a team, and you'll get 1 ice session a week. That's skills. And that one will be very ADM station style like we've done in the past. And then the next session per week will be 3-on-3 games, cross ice games. So a lot of ice touches, a lot of opportunities to develop. And then after that first session is up, we'll remix the teams, and then we'll finish the next session. One thing that you'll notice, unfortunately, last summer, the drop-in process was just, it didn't work. It was very chaotic. We had some people paying, some people weren't, and it just got really out of control, and it was really difficult for our coaches to plan sessions when they didn't know if they were going to have 6 kids show up or 60. So we realized that people want to travel. We realized that people have a lot going on in the summer, but we decided we needed to draw the line this year with that. So the goal was to price it reasonably so that if you do have to miss a couple sessions here and there, it's not going to totally devalue what you paid for. But that is something that I wanted to make sure I brought up. Extra skills goalie sessions. So Brad Perry has agreed to come on and coach these. These will be once a week. I'm still working, and it'll be Brad running it on probably 2/3 of the ice, running skills for skaters. Hiroki and or Jen will be running a goalie session down at the other end. We are still working on the logistics with these guys, just as far as like what that programming is actually going to look like, how much it's going to cost. So I don't have all the info for this quite yet. I'm working with those coaches. And then the other thing that I think they're both trying to figure out is, are we going to provide the best experience if we just make it a free-for-all for all kids at all ages to come out every week? I don't really want to end up with, a 9-year-old out there with a 19-year-old. So we may alternate it every week where we have, 10U through 14U one week and then 16 through 19 the next week. Like I said, we don't have this one perfectly figured out working with those coaches, but we are going to make sure that we have at least an option for kids to get an additional skate if they want. And then those kids that maybe they want to take a break and they don't want to do one of the elite or development summer sessions, they can still come out and get some work in once a week. So this one has been kind of a hot button with some people. It's pretty standard for a lot of Tier 1 programs to send their Tier 1 teams to at least one summer tournament, just to get them some early exposure. The recruiting cycle is a little funky. It happens a lot over the summer and at the front end of the year. That's why going to tournaments like the NAHA tournament in August or September, whatever it was, is pretty important. So we want to provide that option. It's not going to be mandatory. So it's going to be a pretty rigorous travel schedule for our tier 1 teams next year. So if you're like, we can't do it, thanks, but no thanks, that's fine. In the event that happens, coaches will be able to invite some of the tier 2 players to come up and fill in some of those holes. So that, those kids that maybe were on the bubble didn't quite make the tier 1 team can still have an opportunity there, but that's all contingent on which kids decide to go or not. This is not something that is going to be like paid for by the Kachinas. We are just helping from an organization standpoint and a branding standpoint. So it will be like a Kachinas team that's going and representing the organization versus, the Arizona Wild Dogs. I don't know. I'm making something up. So that's the plan there for those summer tournaments. We're focusing on tier 1 this year. This is for those summer tournaments. That doesn't mean it's impossible for us to do tier 2. That probably will be a little bit more parent led depending on how much interest we have at the tier 2 level. But what we're going to look for, or what we're going to look to do out of the gate here is tier 1, see how it goes. And if it goes well, then maybe we'll do more in future years. Lessons, this is nothing new, similar to what we've done all year long and in the past. We'll have a nice slot. So if you have a coach that you do want your daughter to work with one-on-one, they have the ability to schedule one of the corners on the ice for this private lesson ice. And then you just sort of negotiate directly with them as far as payment is concerned. Small fries, I know everybody on this call has experienced small fries or already been through it. I did want to throw it on here though, because if you do have friends or your daughters have friends that want to get involved, small fries registration is up and running and open. So if you have any questions about that or you want to get a friend involved, please reach out. Savage is going to help run that program from the back end this year. So if you have any questions, you can either reach out to me or him. For some of the older families on the call, if your daughter wants to come out and volunteer at all over the summer, if you think that, you might be applying for financial assistance, want to bank up some volunteer hours, we are going to allow that this year if your daughter contributes over the summer. Bella Contreras on our 19U team is helping us with that and coordinating our player volunteers. So there will be opportunities for kids to come out and help, which we love. And then our Lil Gibbers program. So this, we kind of piloted this year. I think everybody can kind of see we're growing very quickly on the player side of things. And as a program, it's going to be critical that we make sure that our goalie development keeps up as well. So this is probably more relevant for development families, but if you've got a daughter who really wants to jump in and see if goalie is going to be the right fit for her, this is a great opportunity to do it. The first 4 or 5 weeks will be on Wednesday nights during small fries. That'll be very like building the fundamentals, doing skill type stuff. And then the second half of the program, we're actually going to put them in those development 3-on-3 games so they can get a little game experience. So we're super excited to have that. So as far as a timeline, and then I'll start knocking out questions. We'll have so for the development families, that elite orientation camp registration should be open this week. That one's a little contingent on if Sports Engine gets it back to me, the registration back to me by Friday. If not, it'll be first thing next week. And then Small Fries is already open. In the next couple weeks, we will have our prep camp and tryout registration open. I imagine that'll probably open next week, as well as the player development camp Prep Skate. Early April, we'll get all the summer stuff out ready. You guys can get a clear picture of exactly what the schedules are. We'll get those on the website As you can imagine, it's a lot to build out on there. And then late April, early May, get the summer tournament details, as well as dev evals out there. So that is, I got a lot of questions coming through, which is great. So Steph, good point. So at player development camp, there will be a goalie coach there working with the goalies, from what we've been told from USA Hockey. And then for pretty much all of the programming, Hiroki's traveling this summer, so I'm working with him and Jen. My goal is to have goalie coaching at pretty much every session, not necessarily the game day sessions or the 3-on-3, but definitely making sure we have goalie coaches out there as much as possible. So our goalies are getting the support that they need throughout the summer. Jade, I don't know if Steph answered your question or not about age group. Is that for the summer tournaments? I'll give you a second to answer that, but okay, cool. So for small fries and Lil Gibbers, if your daughter is a goalie, and even if she's not a goalie, Gibby will need support and volunteers for that as well. So if your daughter wants to come be a shooter, probably not 14, 16, and 19 U's, but if your daughter's younger and wants to help shoot on some fresh little goalies, we'll definitely take volunteers for that. Dates for all of this, we will get all of that out within the next 2 weeks. I will tell you the player development prep camp, that one, because it is coming up pretty quick. That one's going to be the evening of the 8th of April. So April 8th. And I think that's in this presentation, actually, if you need to refer back to it. How do you know when your daughters are ready to try out for elite versus development? That's a good question. Well, first of all, they have to be at least a 10U. So that birth year, off the top of my head, does anybody know exactly what that is next year? 2012s, maybe even 2013s. They have to be a 10U going into the next season. So that's step one. Anybody younger than that, we unfortunately, just USA Hockey rules, we can't have 8Us playing up on a 12U team, even if it's a 10U, 12U combo team. The other thing that you can do is talk to your coaches, find out what they think as far as where your daughter's at in her development, to see if she's ready to take that jump. But I don't think there's no harm in going to tryouts. And we've had plenty of people on this call who have come out and gone to tryouts, and maybe their daughter was a little out of place, but at least they got that experience and they got to know what she needed to work toward in the upcoming year. So I think as long as she's old enough, you can certainly bring her. I think the other thing too, and this is something we'll talk about at that orientation clinic, is it is a big jump financially, time commitment, all those things. And that's sometimes just not the right fit for families. But if it's something that you want to take on, then I think tryouts are open for everyone that's old enough. Will there be a notification when registrations are open? Yes, we'll make sure to communicate all of that with your team manager. I realize seasons are coming to a close, but we'll probably the April stuff we'll send out more through, well, if not through your team managers, yes, we'll send something out in our large emails that we send out, that Christina does. But yes, there will be notifications when things are up and running. You won't have to go search for it. Coaching staffs for next year. I'm not going to answer that one on this call. We will have a call about that in the next couple weeks. But I don't have an answer for you right now today for that one. Player development camp. Yeah, so Jen answered that one. So unfortunately for 2008s, for if you go to the USA Hockey Camp here in Arizona for player development camp, you won't be able to, they won't be able to advance on to districts, but they like to give the girls the opportunity to get that experience because it is different. It's a development camp, but it also does feel a little bit like a tryout. There's people in the stands with clipboards. So it's just a good experience for the kids to get used to that because some rise to the occasion. Some kind of struggle when they have that pressure. So yeah, they can absolutely go. 2008s can go to the state development camp. They just can't go to that next level. No problem, Laura. Anything else? I believe the player development camp, and check me on this, Jen and Steph, but I believe player development camp on the 8th is exclusive. I think that's exclusively the goalie skate. So the goalies won't be able to do the prep camp. Unfortunately, it's just the ice that we had. So that's a good call, Adam. It'll be more for skaters. Oops, what did I do? All right, we'll check on that, Adam. If we need to go back and try to figure an alternative, we'll sort through that. My understanding was, yeah, we'll sort that out. I apologize. All right, anything else? Probably get out of share mode here. All right. If there aren't any other questions, then we'll let everybody go. But I know everybody's itching for all the info for next year. Who our hockey director is going to be, who the coaches are going to be, what the schedules are going to look like, which tournaments we're going to. And I promise, we are working on all of it. We just want to make sure info gets out to everyone collectively at the same time. And we've got all our ducks in a row. So thank you for your patience as always. Let's finish out the season strong. Thank you, everybody. Take care.